Dr. Stock.
Thank you, Andrea. I think as we're hearing the stories that we're going to hear later on today, the thing that strikes me most that I would like people to take away from this is none of this is occurring just because of naivete on the part of our federal government. The possibility of antibody-dependent enhancement, that's the process by which the vaccines make the immune system work worse and worse until they can no longer stop spread, as they do no longer do in Israel or Great Britain, was known to the FDA from 2 other trials in humans with vaccines and from 4 different types of vaccines used on 2 different coronaviruses in animal models, all of which showed the same outcome. In addition, these vaccines and their very unstudied technology, never having been let loose in this form in any group of animals before they were let loose in humans, stands in particularly disturbing that they would take this tech forward with children, having seen the ignorance that they've applied towards the results we've had in adults. While they question whether or not this will stop spread in children, it would be very difficult to postulate that it will stop spread in children when it does not stop spread in adults. As a matter of fact, in Great Britain right now, the per capita rate of developing positive tests, symptoms, and hospitalization is greater per capita in every age range greater than 30 among the vaccinated than among the unvaccinated, naive population. Meaning that this thing is actually doing worse in its ability to control spread than if you just let it spread on its own. And that, by the way, is the very nature of antibody-dependent enhancement, which was suggested by 2 previous trials in humans of vaccines and in 4 previous types of vaccines and 2 previous coronavirus trials. So there was every reason to have not skipped any of the safety steps that should have been done for this vaccine. If anything, more should have been done, not just 2 or 3 year studies in animals before going to humans, but probably 3 to 5 year studies in animals before going to humans. And yet the response the federal government has had to this is to actually continue to reduce further and further the proof necessary to claim both efficacy and safety. The approval of these vaccines for children for an emergency use authorization for something that is clearly not an emergency in children at all did not even require that they be able to show that they could prevent severe disease, symptoms, or death among children. Their excuse for that being that such a trial would need to be so large that they don't know that the pharmaceutical industry could necessarily recoup its money on this. So instead of doing a trial that would have actually told us what the real risks and benefits are, they instead decided that we will make this decision just upon some interesting studies of immunology, not even taking into account the best indices of immune system response, and ignoring everything that has been going wrong, and even changing the definition of what vaccinated is so they can continue to hide the consequences of this vaccine. For those here who don't know this, the CDC considers you unvaccinated until 2 weeks after your second shot, which means all of the side effects that occur after your first shot or during the first 2 weeks after the second are actually not attributed to the vaccine, and neither are any infections, even though your immune system fights the infections the worst during the 2 weeks after your second vaccine shot. And as we listen to the rest of the stories we're going to hear here today, listening to the consequences of the way the federal government has handled the COVID-19, I want everybody to remember that this is probably the best statement we are going to see about how far out of control, how much this federal government serves special interests while denying any service to the majority of the population that it was sworn to help.